So hi again. So we will keep this much more informal than later. So the idea is everyone that needs to present or will present following the schedule, come here. Here we'll have the laptop and just keep it informal to ask questions. And so the idea is to have a first block of presentation more to give a context about the urbanism and the energy topic. Then a second track more presenting projects, ideas that you and some of the collaborators are working. And finally, in the afternoon, we will do the working session to identify the different challenges that we would like to work in the future. So we will change, I think, the order, because I know if Gerard Calvet is here. So we'll start with Carles Miquel, the director of the Andorran Climate Change and Energy Office, that will present us a little bit the context of the Andorra innovation model and the infrastructure plan they are working.
Thank you, Mark. First of all, I would like to thank you, the organization, to let us present the context of the energy sector. So I will follow this structure to present this context. So concerning the background, so I think it's important to know the environmental context of Andorra. Andorra is a mountainous country enclosed in the Pyrenees. I don't know if it works or not. Yes. Sorry. And with 39% of land covered by forests, and an economic growth in the 20th century that modifies the landscape of the country. This is there are three pictures from our main valley of Andorra la Vella. One of the first one is from the first part of the 20th century. The second one to the middle of the century, and the third one from 2008. Sorry. So considering a population of 78,000 inhabitants with services that are the most important sector of the country, with tourism that amounts 60% of the GDP of the country, with 8 million visitors per year. Some of the most part of these tourists come in winter with products related to skin and but that are very vulnerable to climate change. For the energy sector, Andorra is heavily dependent on fossils and to the importation of electricity from Spain and France. The electricity produced in Andorra only amounts 70% of the demand, and we have a quarter of this demand that is used to produce heat, a quarter used in the electricity for electricity uses, and half of this demand that is from the transport sector, including the fuel tourism of our country. Concerning the national inventory of greenhouse gases, we reached the peak in 2005. After that, we observe a decrease of these emissions that amount 16%. half of the emissions of the country are absorbed by housings, forest in our case. The 95% of these emissions come from CO2, and 97% are from the inventory sector of the energy. So, concerning current actions, the government is carrying a program, day program for the improvement of national real estate park to improve the efficiency and energy saving of buildings concerning renewable energies and energy efficiency and savings. In last year, we changed, concerning photovoltaics, we changed the approach of the aids. We removed feed-in tariffs that that were in place from 2013 to 2017, and begin a program to help the installation of a new photovoltaic production systems. Because of the difficulties of the public when projecting future benefits and the barriers, we leave the barriers to install investments from the beginning. So these aids amount 40% of the total cost of the installations, with a maximum of 20,000 euros. And that allow us to multiply by 2 the total installed photovoltaic power in Andorra only in last year. The installation power grows exponentially, as you can see, and we will arrive in this year at 1.5 or 2% of the national electricity production. An example concerning photovoltaics, the National Bus Station that was built in 2017 and that produces the equivalent consumption of 60 households. This is an example that was built by the government of Andorra and actually is exploited by the FEDA. Another example, the 3A project concerning energy efficiency in schools, to put in, to exemplify the role of the administrations concerning the energy policies. We have installed, in collaboration with FEDA, 2 smart thermal and electric meters and put in place an energy management system to optimize the actions that we will have to do in these schools. Another example concerning, in this case, the promotion of sustainable mobility. Last year, Cyclan is the e-bike, the public e-bike service that was put in place in the context of the transport intermodality. FEDA will explain tomorrow the mobility service aggregator that will incorporate these public services and other services like the electric vehicle, car sharing, the national transportation service by buses and smart parking. The aids that the government put in place in these last years allow Andorra to are in the top 5, top 10 countries concerning the market share. So we reach in 2016, 2017, and last year percentages that reaches 4-5%. So in the top of the list concerning market share, with aids that arrives to 8,000 euros for the pure electric vehicles. So the new model that considers the law 21/2018 for energy transition and climate change, and an instrument of this law, the energy infrastructure sectoral plan. You have the QR code if you want to have the text. Sorry. So a law that have 4 main pillars. One of these pillars are economic growth, that promotes, the law promotes economic activity, new business possibilities, new markets. It high added value activities and new technologies. The second pillar concerning the protection of and information of the user. The law improves the user information and transparency of all the services. It generates territorial equity too, and defines the quality and establishes guarantees to the services received by the users. The third pillar is environmental sustainability, with the promotion of renewable energies, the reduction of the energy demand, energy efficiency, and the reductions of greenhouse gases too. And finally, the fourth pillar concerns sovereignty and diversification, with the increase of the national energy production, the diversification of these sources, and the promotion of distributed generation and self-consumption of this energy, and the reduction of the vulnerability as a consequence of these actions. So, I don't know if you prefer this one or the other one, if you like or not cartoons. So here are the quantitative goals of the law. That includes the reduction of non-absorbed annual emissions of greenhouse gases. We have considered a reduction of 37% in 2030. We include the increase of national electricity production from the current situation to minimum of 33% in 2030 and 50% in 2050. The reduction of national energy intensity by 20% in 2030 and 30% in 2050. We ensure that no less than 70% of the national production of the electricity will come from renewable sources of energy. We plan to increase the percentage of electric cars from the current situation to 50% in 2050, and the reduction of the emissions of the internal transport sector by half. And this is the same, if it's more visual for you. So the measures that are incorporated in the law 21/2018 incorporates the famous 6Ds also in our context. So decarbonization, democratization, decentralization, diversification, disruption, and digitalization of the energy sector, with measures that are explained in this slide. In the context of decarbonization, the law considers a hierarchy of actions with quantified targets for greenhouse gases reduction, incorporates the need to use national biomass, the need to design near zero energy buildings in 2020, sustainable mobility too, with a national plan of mobility that need to be designed in 2 next years. The 100% renewable energy certificates in the frame of the corporate social responsibility and includes a green fund to finance all the actions that have to be put in place in this context. In the democratization, the law includes public participation with a national commission, allows electric self-consumption, incorporates the information on services, even online information of the consumption by users, micro, combined and heat and power installations, renewable beyond the buildings, and allows collaborative projects to put in place these energies. An energy decentralized, opening the production to energy services companies up to 2 megawatts electric and 4 megawatts in heat, and let users to produce these energies and the self-consumption of this production. The law diversifies to the sources of energy with objectives for light electric vehicle, the transfer to cleaner sources of for heavy vehicles in the future, renewable energies, LNG, biomass, hydrogen, for instance. The disruption of classical cycles in energy cycles in Andorra too, creating high added value activities, new stakeholders and new markets, and very important new chains of value. We had an example this morning in this context, and the digitalization of the energy sector. With smart metering technologies, new energy services, energy management systems, and network management. Another instrument of the law is the energy, the sectorial energy infrastructure plan of Andorra, with these purposes, so identify the potential of renewable energies, define and foresee the necessary infrastructures in this context, ensure an optimal and orderly deployment, and guarantee and planning the availability of spaces. So we consider as an input factors as technical, environmental, economic, and urban factors that let us have some outcomes. So the necessary infrastructures for the deployment of this new context. Need to precise wind energy was not considered because of different administrative procedure in accordance with the law that delimitates the competences of the communes. The communes are the second level administrative authorities in Andorra, so we could not include wind energy at this stage. and the infrastructures that was introduced in this plan consider hydroelectric plants, photovoltaic installations, heat and power installations, and biomass. 4 installations in considering. I'm sorry, but I have not. So, sorry. 4 installations of hydropower with an amount of 3.6 megawatts, 107 megawatts of photovoltaic installations, and 3 combined heat and power plants. But I think my colleagues from FEDA would explain better than I these projects. And 1 installation of to treat the biomass with considering grinding and drying the biomass before the final use. Other planet infrastructures consider power lines, transformation stations, and heat and power and heat networks considered in the plan. And final result that will allow us to increase the national production of electricity from 70% today with the current demand to 32-33% in 2030 with the future demand. So we plan to multiply by 3 the national production. And so finally, as a conclusion, we live in a mountain environment with natural systems, human systems. We have to face issues considering both systems. In a context of climate change, this is an example of a glacier evolved from 1911 and 2011 in the Pyrenees Massif, and with an increase of temperatures and decrease of rainfall, annual rainfall. So all the actions that we will have to plan to reach the goals that the law fixes have to consider have to be without regret, flexible and robust measures, not only for adaptation but also in the context of mitigation. And that's all. Thank you very much.